Welcome to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. I'm your host, Corey Graham. Join us here every Friday night at 8 p.m. or listen anytime via podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, to name just a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where the independent new authors come first. Author Belle Papillion has written an inspiring call to faithful living and spiritual unity. It's titled Calling All Angels to His Universal Church. And Belle is right here with me now, and we're going to be talking all about it. Belle, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Belle, can you tell me what readers are going to find whenever they open up Calling All Angels to His Universal Church?
Well, I think you got it pretty wrapped up in your intro there. I mean, it's really just from Christian to Christian, just encouragement in faithful living as opposed to the opposite of living, and spiritual unity, basically. Letting us know that as we are living faithfully, we're not alone. Even though we're not geographically next to each other, we're not alone if we're all working towards the same thing, living for the same purpose, and that, God has told us that He does send His angels to accompany us, and they are called to His church.
Belle, what kinds of readers do you think this would be best for?
Just kind of really anyone. I think that this would be a great book for those who are living that purpose and need encouragement in that area. But I also think that it would be a good book for, even people who haven't made that commitment yet. Because in the book, I do cite psychology. I also talk about even non-believers when I talk about C.S. Lewis and his conversations with Chomsky. But I think, the Bible actually does, and, spirituality does predate even the birth of psychology and a lot of other things in that way. So I think, any open-minded reader will get something from reading this book.
So how'd this come about? What gave you the idea to start off on this?
So actually, I've been keeping a journal my whole life. I actually got that from encouragement as a child, from just one-on-one relationships with actually Catholic clergy. And since I've been on my doctoral journey and my journey through my master's program in psychology, I've been kind of taking notes, basically, on the things that I have been reading and my Christian worldview of the things that I've been reading and learning. And I felt like it would be helpful to anyone, really, but especially those of us that are trying to live as a part of God's church.
So have you ever done anything like this before, or is this all kind of new ground for you?
I haven't, but in teaching my own daughter, who the thing that I'm most proud of on this book actually is on the cover of the book is an original piece of art from my daughter. So in sharing my journey with my daughter and answering her questions, these are some of the things that she and I talked about, and she's just a teenager. So I really think that this would be good for any open-minded person and any person trying to foster a living relationship with Christ.
So once you had your manuscript ready and started working with your publisher, Christian Faith, what did you find to be the most challenging part about that publishing process for you?
It was a little nerve-wracking finding all of the mistakes, making sure that it said what I wanted it to say. And I think it still ended up getting published with a few mistakes, but, it's not perfect, but it is definitely a shared testimony.
Then after all the work you put into it, it was finally a real thing that one day your first copy came in and you were holding it in your hands for the first time, Belle. What was that like for you?
Like I said, the thing I was most proud of is seeing my daughter's art on the cover. And then as I read it, I was proud of myself for sharing how I live in my relationship with Christ. And that it was, to me and to my daughter and a couple of other people that I'm close to, relatable.
So when you look back on the writing and the publishing, everything, was this a long journey that you were on altogether?
It was a lot. If you take in the whole experience, it was a long time. Originally writing this, I wasn't thinking about publishing it. This was initially me making sure that I understood what I was learning and what I was experiencing through my own Christian worldview.
Again, this book is titled Calling All Angels to His Universal Church. It's written by Belle Papillion and published by Christian Faith Publishing, and so pick it up pretty much anywhere like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes, or also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Belle, it has been really wonderful talking with you tonight. Thanks again for being here.
And thank you for calling, and thank you for having me.
The new book by author Danny Haag is a heartfelt testimony of redemption, love, and the transformative power of faith. It's titled, God Can Use Others to Save You. Danny is right here with me now at the show, and we're going to be talking all about this. Danny, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Danny, I can't wait to hear all about God Can Use Others to Save You. What are readers going to be in store for here?
Well, they're going to hear about how I abused alcohol from the age of 13 until young adulthood, and then how I met a beautiful young Christian girl who had a strong faith in God, and her faith had a big influence on me while we were dating. When I was doing my basic training for the Army Reserve out in California, I got drunk for the last time so bad that I slept outside under some boxes to keep from freezing to death. And after that night, I told God I was done. I didn't want to live like this anymore, and I was done, and I was His. And so I asked Him to forgive me. And then the amazing thing is I asked for 2 second chances. I asked that He help me stop drinking and smoking, and I asked Him to give me a second chance at that young Christian girl that I was dating, because she had stopped our dating because of my drinking and smoking. And He granted me both of those second chances.
Oh, what a wonderful story. Danny, who would you say would connect with this story the most? Who's your target readership here?
Anybody that's had any kind of abuse, and whether it be alcohol or drugs or anything like that, that maybe felt they were beyond God caring or God saving them, or that they even had a chance to turn their life around. And it can show you that, in my case, God took me to the breaking point where I didn't want to live like that anymore. And once He got me to that point, I was ready to make a change. Nobody's beyond making a change in their life.
So this is a great story. What was that spark? What inspired you to say, hey, I got to write a book about this. I got to get this published?
Well, it was kind of funny, not funny how it happened, but when my wife and I hit our 50th wedding anniversary, all of a sudden I started really reflecting on my life and how blessed I was, and how God had just moved and worked in our marriage and in our life so much that we had so many blessings and so many things to be thankful for. And I started reflecting on where I came from and how I got changed in what all happened in our life. And as I kept reflecting on it for a couple of years, all these different things in my life kept popping up, and I kept thinking about them and, thanking God for the change He made. And then I realized that I had never told anybody my testimony, especially at that time, my son, daughter-in-law, and grandkid. And so I thought that they got to hear this story, because their grandma, which was my wife, was the major influence on that. And so I started typing it out so I could kind of be organized, and it ended up being like 5 pages. And I knew that was too long to sit down with some young kids to share a testimony. And as I kept working on it, all of a sudden I felt the urge by God that said, write a book. And I said, I refused for about a month. I said, I'm not a book writer. I'm not anything like that. And then finally I gave in and said, okay, I'll write a book. But I remember when I was writing it that I kept whining or complaining to God, saying, who's going to want to read about me? I'm a nobody. I'm not anybody famous. And I remember distinctly Him putting in my head, He said, it's not about you. It's about what I did for you.
Oh, wow, this is such a beautiful story. Again, it's titled, God Can Use Others to Save You. It's written by Danny Haag, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and Available pretty much everywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Danny, thank you again for coming on the show and telling me about your life and about this book. It's been really great talking with you.
Thanks. And I just have one more thing. If you got 10 seconds, we are in the process right now of making a full-length movie based on this book. It should be production and filming should start sometime in 26, probably finish up late 26, early 27, available to the public. Thank you.
I'm so delighted that author Stacy L. McDonald is back with me here at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, and this time with a heartwarming holiday tale celebrating faith, family, and traditions. It's titled Togi's Adventures, Christmas in Tom's River. Stacy, welcome back to the show. It's really great to be talking with you again.
Thank you so much. It's my honor to be back.
Stacy, what are readers in store for this time in Togi's Adventures, Christmas in Tom's River?
Right. So Togi gets to take a train from Florida up to Sanford, Florida, up to Virginia. And then from Virginia, Togi and Stacy drive with Stacy's best friend, Anna, up to New Jersey in Tom's River to reach Anna's sister's home, because they've invited Togi and Stacy to spend Christmas with them. And they get to go to Lenny's Deli and pizza places and just enjoy the sights and scenes of New Jersey in Tom's River, which are spectacular. But beyond that, you learn about Christmas Eve and Advent and what builds up to Christmas. It explains what each candle in the Advent wreath means and how to practice that if you so choose. It's a Christian book about Jesus and Christmas, so it has Bible verses in it, and it celebrates Christmas with Anna's family and the different people in the family and the whole experience.
So can you remind us, what sorts of readers do you think this would be best for?
It was targeted for anyone from 4 to 17. But anyone 4 to 94 could read it because grandparents read to their grandchildren, parents read to their children. And because Togi's Adventures takes them places and he does different things, you learn something about that adventure. So in this case, if you're not familiar with New Jersey, which I was not, I've never been, it was like a glimpse of taking a vacation there just by reading the book and getting a taste of what was there. A little taste, but a taste, you know?
And so Togi is adventuring in Christmas this time. So how'd that idea come about?
Well, I did a trip with Anna to see her family. She really did invite me, for Christmas. So it turned into a book. Her mother, we knew, only had a short while to live. She was in the last stages of her life. So it was really important for Anna to go. And her husband, Tony, wanted me to go with, and I was medical support. I was her friend. We went as friends, but I was there to help Anna if she needed it. So we all went up together, and it was a wonderful Christmas. Mama Celeste died within weeks after Christmas, and then Tony followed a month later. So I dedicated the book to Mama Celeste and Tony, who is a brilliant musician, as is Anna. So it was a very special Christmas.
So was this a quick write and publishing and everything for you, or was this a little bit drawn out?
This was a little more drawn out because I wanted to be thoughtful to Anna's family, and I got approval from everybody. I made sure Anna read it before I submitted it. Illustrations, particularly, I wanted Anna to be pleased with her family's illustration. It drew out a little bit longer, than a couple of months or 6 months, and for good reason, because I don't write about people in the case of like Taylor Swift writes about her old boyfriends. I don't do that. But I do give the taste of what the family is and what the holiday is. So I wanted to be respectful to Anna's family. And I so appreciate their generous, offering of having me for the holiday and also being a part of this story. They are part of the book. So I'm honored to know them and I treasure their friendship.
Well, another delightful book. It's titled Togi's Adventures, Christmas in Tom's River. It's written by Dr. Stacy L. McDonald and published by Christian Faith Publishing. Find it at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Stacy, it's been really wonderful talking with you again and learning all about the newest Togi's adventure. Thanks so much for being here again.
Thank you so much.
I'm holding a book that's a thought-provoking examination of spiritual freedom. It's written by Charles L. Nelson, D.O., and it's titled Ekbasis, A Way of Escape. Charles is right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We're going to be talking all about this. Charles, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, happy to do so. Thank you.
Charles, can you tell me all about Ekbasis, A Way of Escape, and what readers are going to be getting into here?
Well, they will be getting into a book that delves into the nature of God and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit, somewhat also how those three persons work together for our salvation. There's also a title or two in one of the chapters that kind of covers some of my pet peeves, such as people are giving money to the Lord's cause, but they will give money for personal things. They'll borrow money for expensive items, but not give much for the Lord's work.
And what sorts of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
I think mostly with people who actually have an honest interest in learning how to better their lives.
So how did this all come about, Charles? Where'd the idea for this come from?
Well, that's kind of a long story. For years, literally, I took notes on lectures that I heard, sermons that I heard, books that I read. One day we were at some friend's house having dinner, and we were talking about all these notes that I had, and Donna said, well, why don't you put that into a book? And we started talking about that, and eventually then I spent some time collating all the notes that I'd taken over the years and began writing.
So is this your first published work then?
Yes, it is.
Oh, congratulations. Was this a long journey overall for you, the writing and publishing and everything?
Yeah, there was the years of collecting notes. There was over a year of writing. Then we've been spending, I don't know how many months now getting it published.
And so once you started working with your publisher, Christian Faith, what would you say was the most challenging part about that publishing end of things for you?
Well, as a new author, somebody who's totally new to all of this, I found it rather confusing who did what and in what order. And they've been very good, Christian Faith Publishing, and kind of taking me by the hand and leading me through all this. And finding that once the book is out there, there are many people calling in wanting to take part in it in one way or another. And so they've also helped me to not get caught up too much in these side adventures.
There's nothing like getting that finished product, especially after all the time and work you put into it. So when that first copy of Ekbasis was in your hands, Charles, what was that moment like for you?
Well, it was pretty exciting. It was kind of like coming to the end of a very long and tough journey. Very pleasing to have that.
So looking down the road, you got more books in you. You think you'll be doing some more of this?
That hasn't been my goal, although I've had more than a few friends say I should contemplate doing another book, maybe something in a different genre.
And so now that you are a published author, when you think about that, what's the most rewarding aspect of this all for you?
It's not monetary, I can tell you that, even if the book were to be super successful, because we have pledged all of the income from the book to certain missionary projects, and that's been very important to me. So that's one reason why I really hope this takes off.
So I've been talking with a lot of authors here over the years, and I've noticed a lot of them also tend to love to read as well, Charles. Are you an avid reader yourself?
Yes, I generally have about 3 books or 4 going at one time.
What sorts of books do you find yourself getting lost in the most?
I am into history. I like any kind of history, whether it's a biography or whether it's ancient history, Eastern history, church history. I don't care what kind of history it is. I like it.
Well, we have a lot of authors listening to us right now who are just starting out. So do you have maybe some advice that you could throw out there for them?
Oh, my, that's actually a tough one because it's been such a learning experience for me, and it just seems at every level. I would just say that when they do write, they need to not try to follow someone else's manner of writing, but to basically write the way they would tell the story if someone was sitting in front of them.
Well, I think this book is going to be a blessing to so many readers. Again, it's titled Ekbasis, A Way of Escape. It's written by Charles L. Nelson, D.O. published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available pretty much everywhere, like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes, also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Charles, thank you again for coming on the show. It's been really great chatting with you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Author Cameron Saunders has written a dystopian novel titled Shadow Survivors, Book 1. And Cameron is here with me now, and we're going to talk all about this. Cameron, welcome to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Cameron, can you tell me all about Shadow Survivors Book 1 and what readers are going to find here?
So this book, it's a book, I would say the audience is definitely teenager, but I feel like anybody could really relate to it, understand the meaning, deep story of it. It's a story about 4 characters who are in a post-apocalyptic world who are trying to survive the harsh environment and the creatures that they have to fight along the way.
So how are you inspired to write this? Where'd the idea come from?
Growing up, I did enjoy reading. Book-wise, I liked some younger books, I would say, like the Percy Jackson series. I definitely enjoyed reading. But also I like dystopias too, like the Maze Runner, Hunger Games, and just those types of genres of books and movies.
So is this your first foray into writing and publishing, or are you experienced in it?
Well, during high school, I did write a bit. I made books, but I never published them. They were really just for self-practice, enjoyment. But this was my first one that I had officially published.
So being your first one, was this a long process overall, writing it and publishing and everything?
It was. The hardest part was definitely the writing, a lot of anxiety. It wasn't easy, thinking that was good enough to be able to write my own book. But thankfully, I had a lot of people along the way to support me and help me achieve this goal.
So once you had your manuscript ready and you hooked up with your publisher, Haag and Jenkins, what did you find the most challenging part about that publishing end of things for you?
I just wanted to make sure that they understood my vision. Obviously, there was editing, the book cover. But in my head, I have a lot of what I wanted it to be with the finished product. So I just wanted to make sure that they got all that down and made it what I wanted it to become.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. That cover looks great. So was that a smooth process overall, would you say?
The cover, it took a few attempts. I wanted to make sure the main character on the book looked like he did, like how I saw him. So it took a few attempts, but overall, happy with how it came out.
And there's nothing like seeing that finished product when it's finally a real thing. So once you were holding the first copy in your hands, Cameron, what kind of a moment was that like for you?
Well, to be honest, truly, I did tear up a little bit. It was really a surreal moment. I didn't really believe it at first, but when I actually did get to hold the first copy, I was very happy and proud of myself.
And so now you're officially a published author. What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
Just being able to say that I've done it. I did what nobody really doubted me except myself. I think that was the biggest part. So really just being able to tell myself that I did it and knowing I could do it again and, keep pushing myself to be greater every time.
So you think you'll be doing it again? I mean, this is book 1, so I assume there's going to be more after this.
Yeah, I definitely want to make a second book. I just have to obviously want to make the perfect plot. I really want the characters to continue their story and make something that I am proud of again.
And so are you the kind of writer that uses sort of an outline, you know where things are going to go from beginning to end, or do you kind of sit down with an idea and kind of go with it from there?
Well, I would say a mix of both. I have a bunch of documents kind of about each character. I think the most important thing about a book is the character with the plot and how they fit with one another. So I have like an outline for characters, what needs to happen for their growth and, where they must end up. And I kind of just let the rest happen.
And it can happen to so many of us authors. It can be so frustrating, and that's writer's block. Cameron, did you have to deal with that kind of thing?
I did a little bit. I tried my best not to go like days without writing, but sometimes it would just get a lot for me. Writing the book, I was 17 years old, so a lot of self-doubt would come into play, and I would get into phases where I didn't know what to do. But I would say overall, I definitely stayed on track, and I didn't lose too much sight of the vision.
So I'm sure you've learned an awful lot along the way of doing this. So do you have maybe some advice that you could throw out there for the aspiring authors who are listening?
My definitely biggest piece of advice is always believe in yourself. Surround yourself with people who will also give you hope and push yourself to the greatest version of yourself.
Well, this sounds like a great book. Again, it's titled Shadow Survivors, Book 1. It's written by Cameron Saunders and published by Haag and Jenkins Publishing. So head over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or iTunes, or traditional brick-and-mortar stores, and you'll be able to pick this up. Cameron, thank you so much for coming on the show again and telling me all about your work. It's been really great talking with you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having time for me here.
The new book by M.J. Biehl follows a girl's path to find herself again. It's titled, That's What Happens When You Dance with a Dragonfly, a story of trust and belief in the process. And the author, Marcia, is right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We get to talk all about this book. Marcia, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Marcia, I'm excited to learn all about That's What Happens When You Dance with a Dragonfly. Can you tell me all about this?
So this is a story of Luna, who is a dancer, and she is also a victim of emotional abuse by her mother, who controls her, manipulates her when she's not doing what her mother wants her to do. And she's also a victim of bullying in school by Soma. And during summer break, she goes out into the field of flowers where she dances and learns new techniques from watching the flower petals swaying in the breeze. She learns how to land lightly when she watches the butterflies and the bees land on flowers. She's also learning music tempo when she's listening to the croaking frogs, grasshoppers, and crickets. But then the story changes when she notices a babbling brook and she goes down to it, and there is sitting on a water lily the most beautiful dragonfly. And this dragonfly takes her on an adventure and brings her into a whole new way of looking at life. And what this dragonfly, known as her mentor, tells her and shows her and teaches her is that to believe and trust in the process, that the things that are happening to you may be negative, but how can you turn them into a positive outcome so that it not only benefits you and it gets you out of your stuck emotions or the feeling of I'm not good enough or fear, doubt, and puts you into feeling empowered because you've now taken your life back.
I love that. Marcia, what sorts of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
So I intended it to be for middle school, grades 5 all the way up through possibly like 10th, 11th grade. But what I'm finding is a 4th grader contacted me, and in big letters, she said, I love Luna, ! And then I also heard from a woman who read this, and she's in her early 70s. And she said, what a beautiful story. You turned a very heavy subject, a subject that is very epidemic, and you made it into a positive outcome. And she said, it was just lovely how you did that. It's a story that what I hope gets into the hands of those who maybe are victims or who know people who have been emotionally abused or bullied, and they start that uncomfortable conversation. And it's not by reacting, it's actually looking at it through the eyes of empathy so that you respond. Because, and I learned this from my daughter, Gabrielle, who told me, hurt people hurt people. And so if we can remember that bullies just don't wake up one day going, I'm going to hurt this person. Somehow in their life, they have also been hurt. And now they are doing what they have learned through their life, and they're hurting people.
We have a lot of people who are listening right now who are authors who are just starting out in all of this. So, Marcia, do you maybe have some advice that you could offer to them?
Yes. Tell your story. There is no one that can tell your story better than you, and everybody has a story inside of them.
Oh, this is such an important book with a really beautiful message. Again, it's titled, That's What Happens When You Dance with a Dragonfly, a story of trust and belief in the process. It's written by M.J. Biehl, published by Newman Springs Publishing, and available basically everywhere. Places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Marcia, wow, it's been great talking with you tonight and learning all about this wonderful book. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. I so appreciate it.
The new book by Xavier Deberry is a guide to spiritual growth, self-discovery, and Christ-centered transformation. It's titled A Living Vessel, Renewing Your Mind. The author, Xavier, is right here with me, and we're going to be talking all about it. Xavier, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I'm very excited to get to talk about the book with you. I'm grateful.
I'm excited to learn about it. So what would you say readers are going to find here?
I would say interactive and overall just pleasant read, something not too, I would say, too harsh on reading. I know not everybody likes to read long blocks of text, but it's still something tangible, something you can definitely learn from and grow, and at a good pace as well.
So when it comes to the reading audience that you had in mind for this, who would that be?
So the spiritual journal is, I would say, primarily for the youth. I originally wrote this book for adolescents and young teens, just to give them something to have that they can use to grow not only within themselves, but within the Lord and understanding their connection with God. So primarily for the youth, but definitely all ages as well.
And would you say it's believers that are most geared toward connecting with this?
Yes, definitely believers. I would say believers find it easier to start the book only because it does have a faith background. I love having scripture be a part of my different teachings and different youth outreach. But I would also say I welcome just people, just anyone just looking for something new or just trying to find themselves or even grow or take that next step to faith or in their spiritual journey.
So I'm curious how this came about. Where'd the idea for this come from?
So the idea was really just I'm from Durham, North Carolina, also a young African-American male. I grew up single-parent household. I was blessed enough to have my grandfather, though, so he was a big stepping stone and big influence for me in my faith and teaching me about the Word of God and helping me grow as a young man of Christ. But I realized a lot of the people around me and a lot of good friends I grew up around didn't have those same role models, whether it be a father role model or just presence of somebody that could really teach them and help them grow in Christ. And so as I got older, I ended up losing a couple of friends to just street violence. And I wanted to just do something that would be different and make a difference in my community and just in not only my life, but the life of others and the people around me. And so I knew not only writing a book would be something different and something not everybody around me and in my community is used to seeing at such a young age. I mean, that I originally wrote it at 17 years old. And so I just wanted to help inspire and just try to make an impact and try to make a change.
So once you had the book ready and you started working with your publisher, Christian Faith, what did you find the most challenging part about that publishing process for you?
I would say the most challenging process, and truth be told, the Lord was just so great and just working and flowing. It really wasn't a long or difficult process at all. But this, I would say, being that I'm also a student athlete, just making sure everything was up to date, up to par, and being able to be ready to be looked at and reviewed and processed. I think really just staying up and keeping up with things on my end. I feel like the company has been very great with helping me and making sure everything is being put out and done on time. So I couldn't really be more grateful and just blessed for the opportunity.
There's nothing like getting that finished product in. So once you held the first copy of A Living Vessel in your hands, Xavier, what kind of a moment was that like for you?
It was very peaceful and humbling and exciting all in one in a way. I remember, it's crazy. I believe my junior year, I said I was going to republish, re-release. I wanted a new cover for my book. I wanted something very colorful, eye-catching, captivating for young readers like myself to see and want to pick up out of other books around that's on the shelf. And when I got my cover back, I was just very excited and very just happy to see the attention to detail and the work we all put into making sure this is what I was looking for in the design I wanted to go after. So I was just very excited.
Again, this book is titled A Living Vessel, Renewing Your Mind. It's written by Xavier Deberry and published by Christian Faith Publishing. So head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, traditional brick-and-mortar stores. You'll be able to pick this up. Xavier, it was really great talking with you tonight and learning all about A Living Vessel. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity. It was a pleasure. So grateful. Thank you. Just thank you.
This book is a playful and heartfelt children's story inspired by a mother-son moment. It's written by Dr. Doreen Hamilton and titled Scrub-a-Noodle Starts School. And the author, Dr. D, is right here with me now. We get to talk all about the book. Dr. D, welcome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the opportunity.
I really appreciate your time. Can you tell me what readers are going to find whenever they open up Scrub-a-Noodle Starts School?
They will find that this is an interactive children's book that will hopefully inspire them to be creative and share their creativity with their friends, family, etc.
What sorts of readers do you think this would be best for?
It's targeted for children's ages 4 to 6.
So how'd this all come about? What gave you the idea to start off on it?
Oh, that's a great question. I was a single mom when my son was 4, and we used to play children's games and different types of word games in the car, taking him from one activity to another. And this one day, he said, "Scrub-a-noodle." And I said, "What is a scrub-a-noodle?" And we both started laughing. So I said, "You know what? I think I'm going to write this down, son, so I can remember this. And it sounds like it would be a great story." So I did. I wrote it in one of my journals. I do journal a lot. And it just lay dormant for many years.
So what was that spark? What made you say, hey, I'm going to write this book and publish it for the world?
Well, the spark didn't happen for many years later, only because of life, just everything else that goes on, and every day between work and different schedules. I was also in the military at the time, so it just overcome with just different things in life. And it wasn't until last year, plus I went back to school to obtain my PhD. I went last summer, it was like something said, "What about that book? What about Scrub-a-Noodle?" And I said, let me go find that journal. I found a journal in my office and I pulled it out and there it was. I had already written probably about half of a manuscript. So I decided that's what I'm going to do. And I just started looking, finishing the manuscript. And what else did I do? And that was it. And then found a publisher.
Wow. So once you started working with that publisher, Christian Faith, what did you find the most challenging part about that publishing end of things?
I think the most challenging part is I didn't know. What you don't know, you just don't know. And going through the process was unique and challenging, but it was a great learning experience for myself. And I appreciate the guidance and help that I had.
And I could only imagine what you were thinking and feeling whenever it was finally a real thing. That book arrived, the first copy was in your hands, Dr. D. What was that moment like for you?
Oh, my goodness. If I could see you, it was when that box came to my house and I opened it up and saw the actual printed copy, I was so excited. So the fact that my son wasn't aware and I sent that to him and he was not aware that it was coming and he called me up. He lives in a different state. And I said, he was like, "Mom, this is wonderful." I'm like, "It's awesome, isn't it?" I was so excited.
And so now it's out there. What's the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
I believe that I'm able to share something that was in my heart that's been in a book for a long time and just to share it with others. And that's what I have been trying to do is share that. And then I've got a lot of positive feedback. And so I'm excited that it's taking off. People are enjoying it. So I'm hoping that I could have a book signing, maybe at a library here in my state, at the local library. That would be wonderful, and then just share my experience and my journey with others and hope they feel the same way.
So looking ahead, what are the chances that we might see some more books from you, do you think?
I have another one that's all about 90%, the second book, Mr. Scrub-a-Noodle, that I can't wait to share, and I hope it's going to be quite as successful as the first one so far. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Well, Dr. D, you've certainly done some wonderful work here. This is such a beautiful book. Again, it's titled Scrub-a-Noodle Starts School. It's written by Dr. Doreen Hamilton, and it's published by Christian Faith Publishing. So pick it up pretty much anywhere, like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Dr. D, wow, what a wonderful time I've had talking with you tonight and learning all about Scrub-A-Noodle. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the opportunity. And again, don't be discouraged. Continue to write, continue to share your ideas with your close friends, people you trust, and it will happen. Thank you again.
This book follows one woman's journey of self-discovery through love, loss, and family trauma. It's written by CKK. It's titled Jasmine, Sisters of Hope Quadrilogy, Volume 1. And the author, Ryan, is here with me now, and we'll be talking all about the book. Ryan, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Ryan, can you tell me all about Jasmine, Sisters of Hope Quadrilogy, Volume 1, and what readers can find here?
It's a story about a woman named Jasmine who, through a series of tragic events in her youth, her family's forced to immigrant from the Middle East to America. And over the course of her life, she has some conversions from her native religion of Islam to Christianity that causes some family drama there. And she ends up discovering love, moving across the country with a man who marries her, and then finds herself divorced with 3 children and trying to figure out her life and how to restore relations with her family later on. So ends up with a couple different suitors who are trying to seek her hand, and just all the different dramas she goes through learning to survive on her own as an independent woman and find this inner strength to her to handle daily challenges.
So when it comes to the reading audience for this, who would you say this would connect with the most?
I think I wrote the book for my wife, ideally. So I think the big part of the connection, definitely Christian-based women, housewives. I hope that maybe even some younger women, maybe even teenage girls could read it and find strength in Jasmine to overcome obstacles they may have. But mostly, largely a nice housewife at home, married, maybe look for a little excitement, as well as looking for just a good overall feel-good story to read.
So how did this come about, Ryan? Where were you inspired to write it?
So me and my wife were actually separated and divorced for about 6 months. And during that time, a couple of events happened that when we talked about them, it happened to her, actually inspired different scenes that happened inside of the book. So it kind of came from that and just blossomed into this whole idea. I'd originally thought the idea of writing the book, but I was going to write it from the perspective of Jasmine's ex-husband. So I'd kind of toyed with that idea. And then after, when me and my wife got reunited, we got remarried and we started talking, I just changed the focus of the book based off the events that happened to my wife. And we blossomed from there and went forward.
So what does your writing background look like? Do you have experience in this kind of thing?
Not really. This is my first published book. I've written a lot of short stories since high school. I've never really looked to publish any. I do teach English, so I do have somewhat of a background with that, or I did teach English before I got promoted up. So this is my first attempt at it. I've really enjoyed writing, and I have a lot of other books I've been writing on and working hard on now, so hopefully there's going to be a lot more coming. But this is my first real attempt at a full novel. Up to this point, it's been mostly poetry and short stories.
So once you sat down, got started on Jasmine, was this a long journey for you overall, the writing of it, publishing, and everything?
Overall, it's been a very long journey. Writing it probably took, probably a good 10 years by the time I originally started to finishing in the final product and editing, and to a point where I was really happy with it. I was actually quite surprised at how quickly the publishing process went. I thought that'd take a lot longer, and it kind of just everything fell in place and happened really, really fast for me there. But the writing process took a long time with this first one, and I actually never dreamed I'd ever be published. So I was kind of like I said, I wrote the story for my wife, and I thought that would be it, and she encouraged me to try and get it published, and we did.
This book is titled Jasmine, Sisters of Hope Quadrilogy, Volume 1. It's written by CKK, published by Covenant Books, and available basically everywhere, like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Ryan, it's been really great talking with you tonight and learning all about Jasmine. Thank you again for being on the show with me.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
Author Ann Allen has written a heartfelt devotional offering encouragement, prayer, and reflection for every day of the year. It's titled, Good Morning, Lord, It's Me Again. And Ann is sitting here right with me now, and we're going to talk all about it. Ann, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you so much.
And I'm excited to learn about Good Morning, Lord, It's Me Again. So can you tell me all about the book?
Well, I started writing my daily thoughts, to the Lord. I had brain surgery in 2011. I was diagnosed with NF2, and I had a tumor that had to be removed. I ended up losing my eyesight before the tumor. I lost my hearing. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. But after the brain tumor, after the surgery, I remained in a coma for like 94 days. But the life that I lived while I was in that coma, you have to be a God-fearing person to understand why I went through. But it caused me to change my life. And after I came home, I just decided to thank the Lord daily, writing my thoughts, doing this, doing that. And I looked up, and a couple of years later, I'm like, you know what? Forever talking and speaking to other people. Maybe I can get this together and let other people know, if you believe, faith is a beautiful thing, and all you have to do. So I tell you, for God in my life, it is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I decided just to share some of my thoughts, and this is where it landed me. Every morning I found myself saying, Good morning, Lord, it's me again. And I just started talking, revealing what was what, and here we are.
Well, Ann, what kinds of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
You know what? You would really be surprised, because I know spiritual people that it would affect as being number one. But sometimes all it takes is someone that needs a second look at their life. Maybe it's time for me to turn around and do something different, someone might say, because that's where it ended up for me. So it doesn't always start out with a walk with God, but He can always put you on that path. And sometimes it takes a person that's able to make a U-turn to be able to be turned around and find a different direction to go.
So is this the first time you've written or been published?
No, after my brain surgery in 2011, I published my first book, which was titled, oh my God, here I go again. I'm on one now, but it's titled, Death Never Crossed My Mind, because I knew that from this brain surgery, I was not going to die. I knew that. That's how strong my faith was. And after I published that, and each chapter had something to do with someone that might want to take a different road in life. Each chapter has something to do with maybe a suicide or ugly part in life. And after I wrote that, I've done a lot of speaking engagements and whatnot. And it's a blessing to say that there are people that have no problem with, they're willing to have their life turned around. It just takes someone to take the time to talk with them. And you'll never know. God says, if you can just get one attention, it'll make Him happy. Just one. You don't have to get 50 or 100,000 or whatnot. Just one. That's all it takes.
So, Ann, once you had the book ready, you started working with your publisher, Christian Faith. What did you find the most challenging part about that publishing process for you?
I think probably because it's a 365-day journey. It's about 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the afternoon. They were kind of satisfying, calling me whenever something needs to be changed, or they'd ask me to take a look at that and take a look at this. And basically, I had no problems with them. None whatsoever. I was very satisfied. Hey, I guess I've been blessed when it comes to the publishers that I chose, But, I'm not a complainer. I just do it and let God deal with it. And I've been blessed.
What a wonderful book. Again, it's titled Good Morning, Lord, It's Me Again. This is written by Ann Allen, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available pretty much everywhere, like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Ann, it has been so wonderful talking with you and learning all about your work. Thank you again for being on the show with me.
And thank you again for taking the time speaking to me. And all of you, God bless you, and have a wonderful life.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. We hope to see you back here every Friday night at 8 p.m. or listen anytime via podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, to name just a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where independent new authors come first.